too late for me to leave? Is it too late for me to leave?
We got 2 minutes. Okay, we're live.
Good evening and welcome to the February 28th, 2024 Henry County Commissioners meeting. If you would all please stand and join us with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a short prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to be here and serve this public this evening. We pray for your guidance and your wisdom in our decision-making process. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Have the commissioners had an opportunity to review the minutes of the last meeting? And if so, is there a motion?
Make a motion to accept minutes presented.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Have the commissioners had an opportunity to review the claims from the last meeting?
Make a motion to accept the claims as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to accept the claims as they have been presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioners had an opportunity to review payroll.
Make a motion to accept payrolls presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the payroll. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have an opportunity now to bring up our treasurer, Bill Upchurch, for a Board of Finance meeting.
I will make a motion to recess the Commissioners' meeting until after the Board of Finance meeting.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Board of Finance meeting, have to have it once a year. First thing we need to do is we need a president.
I nominate Bill Upchurch as president. Can't be you. I nominate Joe Wiley as president.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Congratulations, Joe.
You didn't vote?
And now we need a treasurer.
I nominate the treasurer,
All right.
Bill Upchurch.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, now talk about the banks. We're getting pretty good interest rates for all the banks. They're all about 5 to 5.15. County's getting really good interest rates and making pretty good money on what we've got. I've actually bugged the banks enough that they said they're going to keep us right with feds, and I don't have to keep calling them and bumping our interest rates. They're going to continually do that for us. We're at 5% at Citizens, 5.15 at First Merchants, 5% at First Financial. My suggestion is we continue as is until the economy does something better or worse, and we can make some adjustments whenever that happens.
You're doing a great job.
Well, thanks. I mean, that's...
You're
not
making
all-
money.
We are making good money right now, but
now.
we'll also have to spend a lot of money.
I know we have to
get
spend a
anything
lot of
done.
money too. So.
But that's all I've got. So, quick and easy. I like these meetings.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, second.
Second.
All right, we're done.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to bring the Commissioners' meeting back to
Motion's
order.
been made to bring the commissioners' meeting back on board.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Josh Estel.
Good evening. Thank you for moving me up a couple spots on the agenda. As everybody knows, several lines of our insurance were canceled by Travelers for March 1st. And after an extensive search of every market, I'm happy to say that we have terms for the most part that hopefully we can live with. We are spending today $643,845. The terms we have starting 3/1, which are a combination of keeping some of the existing lines with Travelers until July that they didn't cancel, and moving the remaining lines to other carriers. And this may not sound like it's terms that we can live with to the general population, but it sounded much worse 60 days ago. In total, going to $874,391. And the only major change in terms in terms of coverage and deductibles, that sort of thing, is that the law enforcement deductible is going to $150,000 per occurrence from $25,000 per occurrence. We may or may not have to deal with what we do with the property crime and the equipment in July. We'll probably know that in the next 60 days, but we sent this out to the entire property market. Unfortunately, even the accounts that have performed really well right now in the property market, the property concentration issue that we're seeing across our country, we're seeing huge deductibles being driven on especially wind, hail. So we were going to have to we have a $5,000 deductible right now across the board on all perils, and we were going to be looking at probably $50,000 to $100,000 wind, hail. So I see no reason to not ride as upset as I think everyone in here is with Travelers. I don't know that the county would like to take on that financial exposure in the spring for wind, hail. I'm thinking that we ride this out until July and see what happens on those property lines.
Because I believe our current deductible is $5,000.
Five on all property.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, we kind of had to piecemeal this together, which is very unique. But I made some footnotes at the bottom of the document just so that there's no confusing, and you can reference this. But on the law, we have the first $2 million with Kinsale and the second $3 million with Indian Harbor to get to the $5 million tort cap, which is the limit we had now. Chubb came in with a very attractive public officials and employment practices proposal. They're willing to do the full $5 million tower on that limit to get us to 5. And then Trident came in and was willing to write the general liability auto and the $4 million excess over the general liability and auto. So we've got the $5 million on every limit that we had previously. We've had to do it with quite a bit of layering and piecemealing. I made a note at the bottom that the all lines aggregate that I spoke about at the last meeting, which was really the only other even option that was realistic. I feel like we're paying a premium of what amounts to be, still in the $525,000, $550,000 range, and then taking on huge deductible exposures by line. So I think, for the most part, we're landing with carriers that have experience. I don't love the deductible. I did some analysis, depending on how much you want to share, but if we went back 10 years, we would spend about $1,590,000 in deductible if we had the 150 the last 10 years. Now, we have 25 now. We would have spent a big chunk of that in the under 25, but for budgeting purposes, if you want to just look at historicals, clearly we've had a lot of changes. We got a new jail. There's been things that have happened in 10 years that, but that's the only thing we have to go on is the data that we have historically. So I'm happy to share more of that analysis, but we need to bind coverage tomorrow. And I think that this proposal is what we should do for now and puts the county in the best position, as we move forward. And hopefully a year from now, if things quiet down, then, we will revisit this regardless, but hopefully if things quiet down, then we go to some of these carriers who said, I have interest, but just it's been kind of a flourish of things happen, and I'd like to give it some time to see before we do anything. So happy to answer any questions that you have.
Well, first of all, thank you. I have worked closely with you since we got the phone call December the 20th, and Josh has gone probably above and beyond what most brokers would have done. I'm not so certain that most brokers would have, at some point, wouldn't have just walked away. It has been a difficult challenge to get to where we are today. He has put in way more hours than I have, but I have put in many hours working on applications, and so has other departments, because I have to lean on everybody else to get the numbers. So it's been a group effort. So thank you for the hard work.
Well, thank you guys, because every one of these carriers has their own 20-page application, and in normal years, we would kind of fill out one and shove it down their throat and say, if you want to look at our business, like, you need to just use this. Strategically didn't think it was probably the right time to do that, so we tried to bend over backwards and give all the carriers kind of the best picture of what Henry County's exposures were, and unfortunately what that means was every time we got questions and a 20-page supplemental that somebody over here had to do that and put a bunch of time in. So I will say I think that helped us arrive at where we were. Trident, as an example, probably 2 weeks ago, I had an auto quote for $1 million and no general liability and no excess auto. And, we filled out the Trident supplement. We went back to them. We asked them to do some things and ended up getting, them to come through on that $5 million, which was kind of the last piece to get this to where I think we're up to the tort cap. We have, a decent program. So it took a lot of legwork. We spent hours and hours and hours at the jail with some of these carriers doing tours. So everybody involved in that, everybody pitched in to make sure we didn't not have insurance, come Friday.
So when you went back to 10 years, I just want to make sure I understand. So you took all the claims that we had over 10 years and
Law enforcement
and assumed that the deductible was $150?
Correct.
To get to that number?
Correct.
Okay.
And I've got a very complicated spreadsheet that I can share with you if you
Okay.
want to see how it breaks down. Now, I will say too, because I don't want to mislead anyone, but there's a ton of open claims. So the numbers I used are reserves. So, you could have a claim right now that's paid $25,000 and Traveler says we think it's going to pay $200,000 and it may pay $500,000, it might pay $50,000, but we can only use the numbers that are what we show as incurred. So, with that caveat that those are the pure numbers in terms of if the claim settled today for what the reserve looks like, what we would be looking at in terms of potential exposure on deductible.
Thank you.
I'll say, because I got the copy of the Hail Mary that you threw up, and just so for public record, it was denied. Basically what Travelers said was they had responded to their indemnity company, hereafter known as Travelers, and received the above reference complaint. Travelers has insured the Henry County Commissioners continuously since 2021 and 2023. We received 10 claims related to actions allegedly taken by the Henry County Sheriff's Department compared to 4 claims we received in 2022 related to the Sheriff's Department. Some of these claims are still open and are currently in litigation. Given our experience in underwriting this type of business, the pattern and nature of these claims received is indicative of substantial change in risk management. As such, we decided to midterm cancel the above policies. And then it goes on and says there was 2 notices of cancellation, so they gave us over their 45 days. as of March 1st, it would have been an additional 30 days. And the response from the state of Indiana was, "Dear Board of Commissioners, Henry County, you have inquired concerning midterm cancellation of the commercial insurance policy according to IC Code 27-1-31-2. Grounds for cancellation notices of cancellation is insurer may cancel policy of insurance that has been in effect for more than 90 days if there is substantial change in the scale of risk covered by the policy." And they gave it 45 days notice before canceling policy. We can only suggest that you contact other companies through your agent to secure coverage. If you have any serious problems obtaining coverage, the Indiana Fair Plan is available and you may ask your agent about it. Please understand that our inability to be of direct assistance to you in this matter stems from statutory limitations and not from a lack of concern on our part. So that pretty much ended that, didn't it?
I would rather let this process play out. I think that the Department of Insurance might look at this further. I don't think it's going to impact what we do for March 1st. I was disappointed that in what I would consider an action that is somewhat unprecedented, that nobody at Henry County or their legal representation got a phone call as it relates to any of this. But I'm going to be careful, like, as we get in. Obviously, I've still got a contractual relationship with Travelers. You're going to be insured with them for the next 3.5 months. I think we should let the process play out at the state level. Whether I disagree or agree with the way it was handled, there could be something that comes of this as they look into it further from an appeal standpoint. But yeah, I mean, they said in the letter, you can read it, that they canceled because of claims. I mean, so you can judge for yourself. You can read the law and decide if you think that that is what the law says or not.
Judge, I'm sorry.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I was going to make a motion to approve binding with Kinsdale, Indian Harbor, Chubb, Trident, and any other carriers that I've missed here for the insurance for Henry County starting March the 1st.
Two real quick things. I got Debbie the terrorism, which you've always accepted, and the uninsured motorist form that's required by law. I checked the box of what coverage you've had, which is the same limits that you carry on the auto policy. You can review that. I don't need it today, but I would suggest that we just keep the terrorism and uninsured motorists what we've had and match match the limits. And that would be the only other things that need to be executed. There could be some cleanup items that we just need to do in the next couple days, but I think we've pretty much got everything at this point. So,
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I will second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Thank you for your effort and for
Thank
everyone
you
else.
for everything,
thank you
Josh.
guys. We'll get
Thank
this
you.
Thank you,
handled
Josh.
tomorrow, and I'll keep you
Yep.
posted.
Yep, I'll
All
talk
right.
to you tomorrow.
Next, we are excited to invite the Henry County People's Choice Award.
I want to say I got this information from the People's Choice Award Committee. We have Amanda Davis. There you are. I'm going to read what I was given. Amanda Davis is Henry County's People's Choice Award winner, is a professor at Indiana Wesleyan University, as well as a small business owner. She counsels primarily women and children, as well as partnering with local schools for parenting groups free of charge. She is a retired school counselor and special education teacher and continues to have a burning passion for helping children. She has 2 master's degrees, a PhD, countless special certifications for counseling, as well as being a certified life coach. She also recently published a children's book, Denver Goes to Work, which teaches children how to interact with working dogs. Amanda saw a need here in Henry County and took a chance to open her practice, Healthy Hearts and Minds, in Knightstown, where she saw a void in services for children and women and therapy for counseling. She has since partnered with Knightstown Schools to ensure kids that may not otherwise be able to afford it get the mental health care that they need. She also has partnered with local Hancock Regional Health Clinic and is an important part of the way they provide for rape victims in our area. She has also written grants for the Knightstown Police Department, Knightstown Academy Place, Knightstown Fire Department, and many others in Henry County. Amanda is the chairperson for the Indiana State Counselors Association, where she advocates for the school counselors here in Henry County and around the state, which results in a better school experience for Henry County children. She is a tireless workhorse behind the scenes of so many great causes and does it all without the expectation of any kind of recognition. Well, you blew that, didn't you? Our children are our future, and through her efforts to ensure and empower them to be their best, we would like to take this opportunity to say thank you.
Oh, thanks for trying to get pictures.
Congratulations and thank you for all your work.
Right there. Right here. It's ordinance to vacate a public right-of-way. It's under number 2.
Next we'll have the ordinance to vacate a public right-of-way.
Public hearing. Do we need to recess our meeting again? Okay.
We will now call the public meeting to order. Ordinance number 2024-01-24-001.
You want to speak on why we're doing, do it?
This is a request that Jason Perdue filed to vacate, looks like an undeveloped platted right-of-way that is platted as South Street. It's never been developed. It's located next to his property. Law requires notice for budding property owners. The property owners that are budded receive notice, as well as you conduct a public hearing on it.
And it's my understanding that going all the way back to 1941, whoever owned that property paid the taxes on that portion that we're being asked to vacate. I believe you reviewed it as well.
That's what it looks like.
Okay. Okay.
I'll say we
Yes.
have people here who want to speak.
Yes, by all means, Judy, would you step up to the microphone and state your name and your address and so forth?
Thank you for letting me speak on this subject. I'm Judy Galloway, and my property is at 2710 East County Road 250 North, and there's a right-of-way through there, and it butts up to my property, and the property has been in our family for over 100 years, and my grandfather, Chester Groves, took care of that all the years that he lived there. Then my father and mother took it over when they moved there, and my husband and I were there. We've been there for over 40 years, and when my dad died, my husband and I did it over for my mother, and now I own it completely. So I just can't see why anybody would want that, because it butts right up to my property, and this right-of-way on the other side just dips down into some kind of swampland. So I totally disagree to let it go to somebody. I would like to have it for my own self.
This doesn't necessarily let it go to anyone. What this does is it just means that no one will have a right to come in there and build a street on it. As it stands right now, if the commissioners wanted to, they could come in and pave it.
That's right. It's a right-of-way.
That's, what this does is it would eliminate that possibility. Now, who ends up with record title to it is something the surveyor probably has to tell you.
Well, I've been under the understanding that if you take care of it for a certain amount of years and it joins your property, it becomes yours.
Well, I'm not a judge, so I'm not going to offer you a legal opinion on that.
I understand that. That's the way I feel. So. Okay? Thank you.
So could you repeat what the issue is, please?
Well, essentially what the petition is, it's asking that this be vacated such that it can no longer be utilized by the public as a right-of-way.
Okay. But it does not give access
It doesn't-
and ownership to anybody.
It doesn't go anywhere.
Well, it gives ownership to someone, we just.
Once they have a survey, wherever
We're
the
not in a
survey lies.
position to say
Correct,
exactly
who,
who
where,
belongs.
but,
It just
yeah.
means you're
We're
saying
vacating it to no longer be utilized
It's
as a
no
right of way.
longer used as a public right.
When Mr. Stearns bought the property, he took gravel out of it, and he was going to run his trucks through there. And he talked to my dad about it, and my dad told him how we had taken care of it, and he decided not to run his trucks through there because we keep it mowed and everything. So I do know that. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. We have another neighbor there also. If you would, please step up and state your name and your address.
Cliff Dupree. I live at 2479 North Hillsborough Road. My question is, when these right-of-ways are made, who determines the boundary of the right-of-way? And when it's abandoned like this, how it's dispersed and who it's dispersed to, or if it goes up for public auction? We just bought this place a year ago, and I've talked to Tom Green, and he's told me this was abandoned years ago, just that no paperwork had been done on it. And like the easement that runs down the side of my property, he said, I own it. Now, I've been into Tom Green's office a dozen times and talked to him because property lines is a big concern for me. And right now, where I'm going to build a shop would be right at the edge of that property line, which means I would have to move it over again. So who determines this?
Well, the width of the right-of-way was determined by the plat that was recorded probably in the 1930s or 40s.
Right.
So if you went over to the courthouse, pulled the plat, that would tell you exactly how wide that right-of-way
It tells you how wide it is, but how much did they take off each parcel in order to make that?
That I don't know.
Tom Green don't know that either.
Well, in fairness, probably this parcel was one giant bit of land when they platted it out, so it's almost impossible to tell you how much they would have taken off each parcel.
So who's,
Back to the 30s or 40s. What's going to end up happening if it is vacated? You'd have to have a surveyor to tell you what the boundaries are. It
So
will
who-
go up for public auction. That's the one thing you mentioned that would not happen. It would not be auctioned off because the commissioners don't own it.
okay, like, all right, I'll get a surveyor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, that was the other thing. Tom Green
Could,
said, Tom Green said that this was already done and abandoned. It's like my house sits on 6 lots, but there's never been any paperwork in Henry County to join those lots together. That's how far back. And that goes back to 1841 that we looked at the records on it. None of this has been surveyed or checked into since it was originally split on the original plot. It's still measured in rods.
Yeah, this is a very old subdivision, so it probably was platted with the idea you put very small houses on it. And as time went and houses weren't developed, people would buy
on two lots across.
in the 1930s and 40s when these were originally platted. So that's not uncommon to see in subdivisions where you'll have multiple smaller lots. For instance, if you look like Knightstown Lakes subdivision, you'll have dozens of small lots. Sometimes it'll be part of one person's property.
So does that mean we're going to have to incorporate those lots together, or does it stand the way it is? Because it grandfathered in?
I don't think there's any reason you would necessarily have to combine them for any purpose. I mean, you own it all. You could ask that are they taxed separately or is it taxed as one? lot?
Taxes one.
And I don't know of any reason necessarily you need to combine those lots. Unless you want to sell off part of it.
No, I don't want to sell. I want to buy down to the creek.
Okay.
I want to try to talk to Jason, because part of my property goes across the creek, and part of his comes on our side of the creek. And I want to try and work a deal with him to swap that out where the creek's the property line. But that's not part of this. I'm just concerned what he's going to do, or what he's going to try and do. He's already had his property surveyed. And I don't know if those property lines are correct, if they take in the easement or not. Because no maps that I found with Tom Green actually show where that property line is. So the property line's a major concern to me, and somebody needs to let us know where it's at. You know, it hasn't been surveyed since 1841, and Tom Green can confirm that. I went down there, he's off sick. I haven't been able to get a hold of him. I just got back from California Sunday, and because I wanted to discuss this with him based on the things that he's told me when I've been in his office with him on it. Because nobody knows where any of these property lines are.
Thank you. We have another speaker. Step forward and state your name there, please.
I'm Jason Perdue. I'm the owner of the adjoining property. I'm the one that's trying to get this right away to be deceased record. So I had my property surveyed. I had it recorded in the courthouse here. So my goal is to eliminate access to that property right there because nobody's using it now. I don't know if anybody's used it in the last 40 years. Once that's vacated, then we'll do the process on how it divides up.
Yeah, we'll do the what?
Once it's vacated.
Could you move the microphone closer?
don't talk
You're
about
tall and, yeah. No, if you just move it closer to front to you, it should, and make sure that the green light is on.
Green light's on.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Sound better.
Yeah.
Did you get the first part? I own the adjoining property. So, and I had it surveyed. That's when I realized that I didn't own this piece of property. Looking at it on Beacon, I owned this piece of property from the Beacon. I did the tax work on it to realize that we were paying taxes on that since 1940 or whatever the original property owner was.
You were paying taxes on this strip?
I have only owned the property maybe 2.5 years, 3 years. So, but I realize I'm not arguing.
So everybody's been paying taxes on this strip?
Well, when you look at the beacon of it, I'm the one paying the taxes on it, but I'm the one short on the piece of property from my survey from the beacon. Now, the beacon's not 100% accurate. That's why I recorded my survey.
This is confusing. You can direct questions to us, not to Jason.
My question would be, which easement is he talking about? The one that runs east and west down the side of my property, or the one that goes north and south behind Judy's? Is that east?
North and south. North and south.
Yeah, I'm looking at the north and south.
North and south.
I'm not looking at anything east to west.
Yeah, it's north and south.
And I'm not arguing what he owns on the east side of it. Yeah, that's the area. I have my survey right here, if you need to look at it.
So he was talking, this gentleman was talking about east and west, not north and south.
I don't know about you, but I'm more confused than I was when we we started. I'm thinking we should table it until we get more information, so.
I agree. I'm confused as all get out too. And I don't know. Tom's not talked to me about this one either, so. No, he's sick. So I think with all the confusion and with, I haven't talked to Mr. Green about this. I'm going to make a motion to table this until we can work things out, get a little bit more clarity.
I would second that, because like I said, I'm more confused now than I were when we started.
Yeah.
Here,
So,
and the old fence line goes straight down across.
A motion has been made to table this until we get more information on it. That motion has been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Aye. The motion has been tabled for now, and thank you for your time. Weights and measures, Mr. Gabe Beatty. Step forward.
I've just got the monthly report to talk to you guys about. Have you guys read that?
Uh-huh.
Do you have any questions on that?
I do not.
Steve? Joe?
Do you have any questions, Mr.
Elaborate on
Dellinger?
anything?
Well, I have a lot of questions for Gabe, but none of them involve his
Well,
report.
we don't have time. No
Okay.
questions? We're good?
Nothing further? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hang on, since he's up here, you want to just go ahead and move his quote up? That's on the second page. Since he's
Gabe,
over
if you
there.
would step back up here. We have a quote.
Yes.
We're going
You
to cover
guys-
that now.
You have a copy of that. And I think a drawing of the unit also.
So this was, if you want to just describe a little bit of what this is, and then,
It's a sliding unit to test fuel. So its primary use is going to be for truck stops. We've got 6, we can't currently test them. So that's what this is for.
and what was the cost on this?
With shipping, $42,413.
And I believe we appropriated ARP money for this.
The money has been appropriated to make this purchase, so is there a motion to make the purchase?
I will make the motion to approve.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gabe, were you getting a trailer for that? Is that going in the truck?
Going in the truck.
I'm looking for a trailer. And the primary reason is the frequency of use. It's going to weigh 1,500 pounds dry. The gas mileage on the truck is going to be 8 miles a gallon.
So what I would ask you to do is get with Debbie to see what the difference is of what we appropriated for
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
because I can't remember what we appropriated,
Right.
honestly.
Yeah.
I want to say it was up to 60. Do you remember, Steve?
I was thinking it was
50 or 60, I don't
something
remember.
like that, but yeah,
So,
that's
yeah.
why I was asking about the trailer.
So if you,
I'm going to try to keep the trailer low.
okay.
Probably
I'd appreciate that.
So just make sure that you get with Debbie. It was 60,000, so that leaves 17.
plenty, yeah.
Yeah, plenty for a trailer.
We'll
Okay.
get you a wheelbarrow.
Well, we'll see how that goes. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Joel, would we need to change the ARP resolution to include a trailer since we appropriated the $60,000? Okay, thank you.
Next, we have a food and beverage claim for Browning Day for $7,977.82 for the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion's
Second.
been made to approve and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. I was notified today by Penny that she or Corey, neither one were going to be available this evening for the EDC update. Is there someone here from the chamber? No. Next, we'll have the department reports, the Henry County Health Department, Angela Cox.
You do have something? Yes, you do. Well, we're going to cover it again, so come up. So last Thursday was Public Health Day at the Indiana State House, and Henry County was nominated for an award, and our Public Health Department, and I can't remember the name of it, so I'm going to let you speak of it, was awarded the
Community Impact Award.
the Community Impact Award by the Indiana Department of Health. So congratulations. You don't have the award with you. I thought you would bring it with you to show everybody.
I saw the itinerary and knew tonight was quite full.
Yeah, so congratulations.
There's a fabulous picture of it in the Courier Times today.
Yes.
They did a
Yes.
great job covering it, and thank you all very much. And that was an all-in effort. I have some pretty wonderful staff that think very outside of the box, and we were congratulated on that thought process. And we have some pretty fabulous community partners who took that ride out of the box with us. So the 4 programs that were awarded were our Vax to School program, our JCAP program. That's not our program, obviously, that came with the previous administration for the Sheriff's Department, but it was thanks a lot to council members and commissioners previously who had that idea and brought that thing here. And so what we knew that we had to keep it. It couldn't go away. We were struggling to find a way to fund it. And so when the Health First Indiana money came about, it just seemed like the logical thing to do. So hopefully we've got 1 full-time staff member on board right now, and the program is going fabulously. And then I think we've got Live Coalition, and you guys have heard from Miranda, our new coalition coordinator, at the last commissioners meeting. So they are getting ready to start their boot camp. There were 3 full weeks of training. So one of those is coming up next week, and those things are on the move. And we heard when Dr. Weaver came to town and realized the things that we were doing, that all 5 school corporations in Henry County will have, by the end of June, a telehealth device in their school, which will allow a child to see a physician, nurse practitioner, MA, through Henry Community Health, which they spearheaded that whole thing. We just did a little bit of orchestrating with it, and that's huge for a rural county in Indiana. So,
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
thank
Angela.
you for your support, everyone. Thank you.
Your efforts
Thank you,
are
Angela.
appreciated, and we definitely thank you for that. Coroner Brian Clark. Thank you. Braden and/or Joe Copeland.
Good evening. I have 2 items this evening. First is Solar Farm. They're asking to release the letter of credit for the road use agreement. Was $1 million to ING, and it's for Bellflower Solar One LLC. So everything's completed. Steve's here. Drainage is done. We're good.
All vendors have been paid.
Yes. We have verified that.
I will make the motion to release the letter of credit for
Motion's
Bellflower
been
Solar.
made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Next item, I'm going to have some right-of-way acquisition probably coming up, it looks like. Federal aid projects, and I have a large ditch that I'm working on to relocate away from the road. It's actually causing the road to sink in places. So I'm working on it, but we're going to need 2 appraisals. And the way the state does it usually is an appraiser and a review appraiser, so that's our two. But, and then right-of-way acquisition services. I've contacted a company I've done business with before, and it's CRE Consulting out of Pendleton, and they're certified with NDOT, so any federal aid projects we don't have a problem with. And their fees are what the state charges, or what, you know, what they get paid by the state. There's a schedule, and that schedule is in the contract. What the state pays is what we pay. So, but I was wanting approval for the contract, so if I need any on-call services, then I can just go to them and we can get things started.
Joel, you reviewed.
I've reviewed it. It's acceptable.
Okay.
Is this what you normally use, Joe?
Yes. Anymore, I mean, it's difficult. Buying property with federal aid funds has gotten really bad about all the hoops you've got to jump through. Locally, it's not as bad. I mean, two appraisers, and they do comps, and then you make offers, and they have so many days, 30 days usually, to respond, and it's much easier. But today, because this paperwork used to go to the district office and it's reviewed, but it doesn't happen anymore. It goes to the central office. In central office, it takes a while. Yeah, so it's a bit more complicated today.
I will make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the contract. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sheriff's Department, Sheriff John Sproles. I think we have the captain on the vehicles down the line.
Oh, come on down.
Come on down. Come on. Hustle.
I was going to say, you didn't leave anybody in harm's way when you left, did you?
No. They're in good hands. What I was supposed to do when instructing today, I didn't realize commissioners was the evening. I forget there's one morning, one evening thing. So, I think you guys, I know I got sent it to Debbie's office. He said about trading potentially 4 vehicles to Fletcher towards the vehicles being purchased this year. And if you guys had any questions, any thoughts, or anything.
And these 4 are not any of the 7 that are sitting over in our maintenance lot.
No, ma'am. These 4 are sitting on our lot.
Okay.
Out on the east side of the jail.
I don't have any questions.
Any questions, Steve?
The only one I have was the total amount, Joel, that this does not have to go out for bids because we're still under. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we weren't doing anything wrong.
Yep. So with that, I will make the motion to approve the trading in of the 4 vehicles. I'll just go ahead and read what we're getting. It's a 2024 Dodge Durango Pursuit for $43,690. A 2024 Dodge Durango Pursuit for $42,600. The trades are a 2018 Charger with a $3,000 value trade-in, a 2016 Charger with a $2,000 trade-in, a 2017 Explorer with a $2,500 trade-in, a 2019 Durango with an $8,500 trade-in for a total of trade-ins of $16,000, making the total due after the trade $70,290. So with that, I will make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you for getting me up there. I
ma'am.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Did you ask the surveyor if he had anything?
Steve Rest. Thank you. Debbie Walker. Yes, ma'am.
Jenny's not here.
Jenny's not here. Memorial Park. We have a representative of the Memorial Park Board.
first of all, we are starting to work on the lake. We approved to have some core samples taken from the inside of the lake. They've been working on that. And also the shelter house. The guys have been down there mapping out the drains, cleaning them out, seeing where they go and what needs to be done on that. And I'm here I gave you guys a quote for a wood chipper. Since we can't burn anything in the park, we need somehow to get rid of the limbs and stuff, and we wanted to see if we could get this approved to buy with the money of the equipment that what the auction or the sale of it.
So would council need to approve that appropriation since it's so we had the online auction? I'm asking you.
The online auction, that money, we don't know where it actually came from, so it automatically just goes back to the county general, correct? That's correct. We can't source it for.
So the council would have to do, this is more of a council thing than a commissioner item, is that correct?
I'll say the financing part was, I think they wanted us to prove them being able to purchase the chipper, so then you would just request from the council where the money was coming from.
Okay, well,
So the question is do we approve before the council appropriates or conditional to? Conditionally to the council? Okay, so I will, and I have seen the quote. I will make the motion to approve conditional upon appropriation of the funds by the council.
okay.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank
Okay.
you.
But
Thank
hey,
you.
Rita, if you would've got the lakes dredged quick enough, you could've just put all the limbs in there so they could've hauled them away for you.
Well, that's true. But we will be giving fish away
Okay.
when we get ready to drain it.
Thanks, Rita.
No one here from the assessor's office, the recorder's office? Anything? And Brian True? Thank you. Mandy Fleming?
She's not here.
Okay. Bill Upchurch has had his time. Scott Hines? Good?
Yep, he's not here. No, none of those, the rest of them are here either.
Okay. We're now to the point of the DLZ window trial installation and discussion on the building renovations.
Thank you.
By the way, we did move your sample window. We were going to test the warranty by breaking it to see if it was covered, but we decided not to.
All right, thank you. I do have to give it back.
So this is Henry Stelma. He is with DLZ. DLZ was chosen to do the project of this building and rehabilitation and repairs of this building and the Masonic building and any repairs at the Justice Center. He and his cohorts have spent quite a bit of time going through all of the buildings. And so tonight he wants to talk about some windows.
I do, thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to give credit to the county for considering taking care of your building. You have a very beautiful place here with it, and a lot of history here, a lot of changes through the years with that, some good, some bad with that. So, but what I want to talk about tonight is about the windows with it. The windows that you see in this building here are not the original windows. They've been replaced, we were thinking the 80s sometime with that. They're a vinyl window. They've shown their age with that, and they need to be replaced. What we'd like to do is we've gone through and we're going to propose that the windows get replaced with a aluminum-clad wood window. And there's a sample down here if you want to see with that. Some other counties have replaced their windows with all aluminum windows, such as this example here. They're all right, but the thing with this building in particular is you would lose that wood look on the inside. So that's why we've chosen to research doing that window there. before we replace all these windows in here and in the Masonic building with that, we'd like to do a test sample in each of the buildings. We've chosen a location on the first floor of this building and the first floor of the Masonic building so that the existing window can be taken out. We can see what's back in there. When you look at the windows now with it, it's very tough to tell what's actually underneath there. Is there all of the original windows trim in through there? How much of it is left in there, what the materials are, and what condition they're in. The existing windows would be taken out with that. New window put in, new trim put in with it. We would select a color that would go in that would be aligned with the color of the building. We've also worked with the Historical Society on this, so they're up to date, and we would have to get permission from them to do it, but they know what we're doing, and they do agree with that. So what we want to do tonight is get approval for you to do a replacement window on this building and on the Masonic building.
So the cost of the replacement window down here on the first floor is $7,350.96. And the cost on the one at the, we refer to it as the Masonic building, says Henry County building on it, is $2,991.52 as a test. Now, I've been in many conversations with Henry about this, so I'm going to sit back and let you guys ask any questions because he and I have talked ad nauseum about this.
Well, I think we pretty much discussed most of this in our work session earlier, so we've all been privy to it. The only question I had that maybe the public would, was the one I asked you earlier about the windows. You said these come primed, the ones you're getting,
Correct.
ready to paint.
Correct.
Because staining them is going to cost a little bit more, and they wouldn't come primed ready to paint, obviously. So that's a determination that we would need to make prior to, because obviously once you replace that one, it's going to stay, correct?
That is correct.
So, I don't have a problem if anybody else does. I guess the more public visible areas would be the ones I would concentrate more on, getting them more original as far as appearance. So I guess the ones in some of the offices, unless the office holder or there was some special historic significance to them being painted, I'm not objectionable to. So if there's no other questions.
So are you saying they should be stained or primed?
I'd say the ones in the office that have no historical significance at this point, but I don't think it's going to hurt for them to be painted.
Well, right now, all we're talking
doing
about is
test-
these two
Yes.
test windows. We're not talking
But
about
if we're putting
the
them
whole.
in permanently, I mean, we're not going to put it in and take it out if we don't
No,
like it.
but
So
we can-
we need to decide whether we want that one stained or we want it painted. That's what I'm
Well, I
getting at.
don't think that it's quoted in here for you guys to stain or paint, correct?
The window that is in that quote there would come to the site primed, ready to
Primed.
paint.
Ready to paint.
Okay.
So if we're going to
I
do
don't-
that, then
I
we
don't
need to
have-
change that. That's what I'm getting at.
I don't have a preference, quite frankly. I'm good with primed, ready to paint.
That's why I said if they're going to the office down on the first floor, I don't think has any historic significant value that it could not be painted. So I guess we'd be all right with those.
Yep.
So I'll make the motion that we go ahead and move forward with replacement of those two windows.
I will second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Henry.
Thank you for hanging around
No problem.
for 4 hours.
Well, unless you want to come out and put it in my house for some
Yeah.
reason, I'll.
Thank you.
Next up is Elevatus about the jail.
Is it Tony Vi and the backup singers, or? Yes. So this is Tony Vi from Elevatus. I'll just
Yeah.
turn it over to you.
Yeah.
Tony Vi from Elevatus, there we go.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thanks for the invitation to come and speak with you about a possible expansion of your existing Sheriff's Office and Detention Center. If it pleases the board, I have a presentation that I'd like a digital presentation. I've got it on my laptop or I have it on thumb drive, whichever.
If you hand me your thumb drive, it'd be easier. We have problems getting other laptops to connect, so. So entertain yourselves while I'm.
Well, while you're doing that, maybe just a little bit of introduction about really who I am and who Elevatus is. Elevatus, we are an architectural firm located in Fort Wayne. We specialize in a couple different markets, but one of them being justice projects. And we were, or are, the architect of record for the new facility that was finished up just a couple years ago. We went through the design process in 2020. It was bid near the end of 2020, and construction was completed and occupied in 2022. During the course of that, through the design process, we had to operate and design to a budget, and we did that. And we did that quite effectively, I think, knowing that the time when there would be a need for additional beds and additional program space possibly would come. And from what I understand, we're kind of starting to feel that now. So we kind of studied this and wanted to share this with you.
I just want to make sure, I'm going to stay over here so I can run your slideshow for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Listening and paying attention.
Okay, no problem. So with that, we'll move on to the next slide. And what I want to tell you is this is, I always start with a real far zoomed out so we kind of orientate the public. Of course, you see the city of Newcastle there proper, the Newcastle Correctional Facility to the north of town. And if you go to the next slide, you see the correctional facility there as an aerial. And the jail that we designed and was built is just to the south. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see that. So that's kind of the area of the town that we're talking about. So if you go to the next slide, and you see that was actually a former state hospital, but it's this plot of land that the jail was built on. If you go to the next slide, you'll kind of see the property lines. Actually kind of went back into that tree line even further. If you go to the next slide, please. Now, this is a slide taken out of one of our, what we call the design development presentation back in 2020. And the reason why this is here in the next several slides, what I want to do is show you, this jail was always from the very first day intended to be added onto. And you'll see how that is. But this is the existing jail with the public parking here, staff parking. This is more of a secured drive here with the vehicle sally port, additional staff parking and deliveries and trash on the south side of the building. Next slide. In fact, this is a current aerial image. I just took this, borrowed this off of Google just yesterday. And you can see this plot of land was very strategically left open. They brought the building pad up to the proper elevation. We have utilities, power, electric, gas, stubbed out, ready to go. So again, all this just to tell you that it was always designed to be added onto. And I'll really drive that home. So if you go to the next slide, we'll go through this quickly. But the existing facility, project site's about 6.5 acres. Existing facility is about 56,500 square feet. Always designed to accommodate future additions. Currently holds about 246 beds, about 30 feet tall. It's a structural steel frame, and it utilizes prefabricated steel cells. Next slide. And we're going to run through this quick. This is kind of a quick anatomy lesson on how your jail, the different parts of a jail. And the reason why this is important, I'm really going to drive home the expansion aspect. So If you go to the next slide, this is all the parts of the jail, but this is the administration area of the jail. And just about every county jail, especially in this state, has almost all of these different pieces. So if you go to the next slide, this is the intake area. Now this is going to be of particular importance as we kind of consider how this was designed to be added on to, particularly this session here. So this is the vehicle sally port on the south side of the building. So detainees are brought in through here. They're processed in a very prescriptive and linear process through this space, and ultimately or find a longer-term habitat back in this area. But this particular area, we'll come back and visit here in a second. Next slide. This is what we call a minimum security flexible housing wing. Now we've designed facilities across the state and really across the country, and these are particularly useful because you can run work release programs out of them. You can work JCAP programs or maybe even mental health. When we designed this at first, the county really wasn't sure how it was going to be utilized. In talking with Sheriff Sproles, I understand that it's a JCAP program now, which is awesome because I really believe in those programs. Those are fantastic programs. Next slide, please. This is what we call inmate services. So in this area, we've got the kitchen and the laundry, as well as a housing dorm where inmate workers are. We keep them isolated from general population for a number of reasons. But this is particularly, this is located here. It's right on this main corridor. This is kind of a thoroughfare. And it's access into the housing body. Next slide, please. And of course, this is general housing. This is I wouldn't say it's a two-story housing pod, but it's a double-tier housing pod. So we've got cells on the lower floor, and then about 8 feet higher, there's another set of housing cells on top of them. Next slide. And then sort of situated, this is technically a second floor. This is central control. So this is glass, and this is glass. And from this vantage point, this control officer can see into all of these day rooms, the second floor, and again on the first floor. And if you've ever stood in this space, there can be visual contact made with this control officer who is on the second floor through this window and make visual contact with this control officer here. Next slide, please. So that's all of the parts, the different parts of the jail. So that's an anatomy lesson in your jail very quickly. But if you go to the next slide, again, this was designed for expansion. So if you go to the next slide, we're going to kind of dig into a little more detail. So I mentioned that this was going to be of particular importance. That particular post there, what we call a 24/7 post, that is a place, if you go there at 8 o'clock on Christmas morning, there's probably going to be an officer there, okay? So when we have those kinds of positions in a jail, we want to be efficient with them because that's an operating cost. So we position this so this officer can see down all of these corridors. So that in that particular instance, or that case, that position, that officer can see into the vehicle sally port, see who's coming through that door, can see who's coming through this corridor, see who's operating in this corridor, and even who's in this space or coming in through this sally port from administration. So that's a very key place. If you go to the next slide. So here, this is that minimum security. This is that post we just talked about. And you can see how the expansion just continues this corridor through. We maintain these sight lines into this corridor to this future housing pod. Now that housing pod was what kind of determined the size of that plot of land that we left alone. Now that doesn't mean that our hands are tied, we got to do a housing pod. We can do whatever the county needs. Maybe you need program spaces, maybe it is more beds, maybe it's a combination of both. We won't know until we really sit down and have good solid conversations. But you can kind of see what I did is I took an exact duplicate of this. I mirrored it over this line just so you can see how well that really fits in there. So about September of last year, I visited the sheriff because I wanted to meet the sheriff and his staff. And I wanted to walk through the facility. I wanted to see how it was holding up. I wanted to see if they had any questions about the design. And knowing that this expansion was coming. So I asked him, I said, Sheriff, how do you feel about an expansion? And what would you think that you would need in an expansion? And we had a nice conversation about it. And I kind of went back to the office. I wrote everything down. And this is kind of a design that we came up with. And I thought I'd share it with you. Now, this is without your input. This is just what his vision is, or what he thinks that the county could use. So this is some no pretenses. I'm not proposing we move forward with this design. But you see the housing pod here, which would accommodate 192 more beds. Additional program space in this area, because that is a big need in every county jail, not just yours, but every county jail. Those program spaces, you can do everything from church, chapel, to AA, to high school equivalency programs, lots of things in those kinds of programs. What we put in here was actually a JCAP space designed to be a JCAP space. I can tell you that this space is a useful space. I'm glad to see that the county is making great use of it. But if the JCAP program is here to stay, wanted to show you what a space designed to be a JCAP space could look like in this space. This is an identical housing unit to this, so it's the same double tiered, but everything else is a single story here, other than we would have another control station. Sorry. No, it's okay. No, it's perfect timing, actually. But there was one caveat here. You can kind of see the existing curb cut, because it was this plot of land that was kind of kept as an expansion thing. And through conversations with the sheriff, he explained, man, you did not give me enough parking spaces. Is there a way we could probably maybe relay this out? And I said, yeah, if we move this drive over here, get more parking space, we can actually capture some more space here for if the scope of the project needed to be more than just that housing pod or the square footage offered by that land. I'll tell you that since we didn't envision building here, it was just this drive comes through, so that drive would have to be relocated, and there is a couple utilities that run through there that would need to be relocated. It's unfortunate, but and again, I'm not.
Please don't tell me it's the water box.
I think the water box is actually
it is.
over there. But I think the next slide actually goes back to, so you can see that drive and how it comes around. So that was fast, I know, but I'm here for any questions or any conversation that you might want to have.
I'll move back over here for a quick second, and then I'll get you your stuff back. So I guess I should have probably prefaced all this is the reason they were brought in to give this presentation is we all know that this discussion has to start sooner rather than later. And so, I don't know, maybe July of last year, you'll have to remind me. I think it was July of last year, I went up and met with them just so we can kind of get the conversation started. Because we are going to have to expand and just some thoughts of how we're going to need to move forward and start the discussion with us and all that needs to be involved, council and sheriff and judges and whoever needs to be involved. So this is a pretty high-level overview of what we're looking at. And
Anything
Or
else?
you're looking at me.
well, no, I mean, any questions?
It all boils down to money, no matter how we do it. The elephant in the room is how much is this going to cost? So,
I think, the biggest takeaway I'd really like you to go home with or walk away with is that facility was designed to build on from day one. In fact, it's
should have been done from day one.
Yeah, and there was a lot of conversations through that earlier design process, and it was just a budget thing. I'm sure we can all appreciate that, but lost my train of thought. But yeah, whatever the scope is. Oh, thank you. We're here to help. When you're ready, we're ready. But
I know you guys were awful good to work for or work with the first time.
Oh, thank you.
It went
all
pretty
of you,
smooth.
including Colt. So, good to see you, Colt. But yeah, we were pleased with the way it all fell together, and the continuing communication between all of us was phenomenal. It made everything go very smooth, and that's why if we were going to do this, we would like for you guys to be involved.
Well, thank you for that.
We
We'd love to be
appreciate that.
involved.
But this is a conversation because we know that there's not going to be shovels in the ground in 30 days, 60 days. I mean, it's going to take, a process to get this going again, and I think we need to start that along the way so that we can move forward and we don't have jail overcrowding, which we're doing pretty good on our numbers, though.
Oh, good.
But you want to start working on it when you have good numbers. Not bad. So we appreciate that you guys drove all the way down.
Well, you bet.
And presented. We appreciate you.
You bet. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sheriff, anything on this matter?
Back.
Thank you.
I thought Sheriff said backpack.
Certificate of approval for Big Blue River.
I think this is just informational. I don't know that we have to do anything. It's just a report. Is that it's in the back of number 6, Joel.
Okay.
I'll say it's got Joe Copeland's name on it.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay. So we have to
Okay.
approve that.
Do you have any comment on that, Joe? Yes. Yep.
Okay, so we don't have to approve anything. It's just letting you know we got it.
Okay, we are in possession of a State of Indiana Department of Natural Resources Certificate of Approval. We're good to go. Baker Tilly Scope Appendix.
We have 2 of these when we go through this every year. One is for every year they do the annual comprehensive financial plan. And this year, Scope Section A, which is the comprehensive financial plan, and Scope Section B is the capital plan. The cost for that is, Scope Section A is to not exceed $20,000, and Scope Section B is to not exceed $15,000. And then Scope Section C is, let me find that one. See, annual services. So their annual services is billed at an hourly rate.
So do we have a motion?
I will make the motion to approve for the all of the scopes in the comprehensive plan.
If I get their hourly rate, I will second it.
Yeah. Talk to the council.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0.
And so the next one, this is just, appears to be just an hourly rate. The scope of work is the annual budget assistance and analysis that they do every year. It appears that in this year's scope of services, they have added another, because I compared it to last year, they added another scope for budgeting 101 training. They provide a presentation of the basics of local government budgeting and finance, and they go through what that will include. And then it is also the property tax levy appeals, additional appropriations, all the things that they normally do. This is done on an hourly rate, and there is not a fixed fee or not to exceed. It's done on an hourly rate. And I believe that that's how this one was done as well as last year. So I will make the motion to accept the scope of work for the annual budget from Baker Tilly.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the scope of work for Baker Tilly. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Next, we have Jerry Cash to come up and speak to us about the Henry County Healthy Communities Trails.
Right. As you know, we've got about 20 miles of trail system in Henry County, and a good portion of that trail is on the county-owned property because
it was given to you when the railroad was discontinued. We're finding that in some instances, we're needing to make decisions about encroachment on the trail, about requests to cross the trail, and we think in that regard, it would be good to have a memorandum of understanding with the county in terms of what our abilities are to make decisions in that regard, and that's why we're here today, to see if we can start that conversation.
So along the trails, and Steve Rust, not Steve Dellinger, we do have drains and utilities and everything. Do you have concerns of having a memorandum of understanding? So are you, so tell me, what are you thinking this memorandum of understanding will look like?
I guess we would probably need to rely on Joel to help us figure that out, but a good instance would be we have a situation near Dunreath where a person has parked a trailer on the trail corridor, and someone needs to advise the gentleman he has to move his trailer. We have another person requesting to cut across the new trail system up northeast part of the county, and a decision needs to be made about whether that can be done. We have a farmer near Mechanicsburg who has taken some of the trail corridor into his tillable ground and is tilling it and farming it, and he needs to be advised that he needs to stop farming that corridor. So those are the kinds of decisions we're looking to either be able to make or to ask if we have to bring each of those to you to make in regards to each of those kind of situations.
Also, me personally, if this property is titled to the Board of Commissioners, I think all those decisions should be made by the Board of Commissioners. And if we've got easements where we've had farmers crossing the trail before a trail was made, then I don't want to hinder them from being able to cross a trail. Now, if they damage the trail or dump mud or whatever's are crossing it, I believe that we should have the right to have them clean that up and repair the trail if the trail's damaged. But I do believe that for liability's sake and reasoning, and we'll have to refer to Joel on this, but I think the decision should ultimately come from the commissioners, as my personal opinion.
Is that in the form of a motion? Or do you?
Well, no,
I
I think this is a
just
discussion.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you weren't making a motion.
No, but that ought to be taken into
So
consideration.
I think I am going to make a motion to table this until we can gather further information to make a more informed decision. Maybe, what are the issues that you're having, just to get some more information so we can make a more informed decision. So I will make a motion to table this.
And I would second that because your concerns are valid, and
Very
we need to
much
make
so.
sure who's doing what.
Right.
Because some of these things are just now, what you've said, some of those I wasn't even aware of. So, yeah, I would second that motion table. We need to sit down and have a discussion and figure out what we can do.
All right, appreciate your time.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Jerry. We've already done the trade of vehicles, old business, non-operable vehicles.
Yeah, so we have the 7 vehicles that were delivered down here to the maintenance. I received a letter from, or we received a letter from Sheriff Sproles on the 14th that they were taking them out of their inventory and they were not going to seek trade-in on these. So we need to decide what we want to do and how we want to move forward with these cars. I know next week they are going to start demolition of the maintenance building sometime next week. I don't know if we're going to have them moved by then, but Joel, what is the process if we want to liquidate these vehicles or turn them into scrap, or, what is the process that we need to do?
Essentially, by doing that, you'd be entering into a private sale with someone, because I assume someone would come pick them up
Mhm.
or something. If you think the value of the items combined is less than $5,000, you can do that without taking any kind of quotes. If you think they have absolutely zero value, you can declare it as worthless property and then scrap it. If you think there's some value there, as long as it's under 5,000, you can do it with a sale without soliciting quotes.
I do have a question for the sheriff. Is all of your equipment that you need out of those vehicles now? So anything that's left in them is? Okay.
Well, I guess we need to look at these and see if there's any value to them first, and so I will make a motion to table this also until we determine the value to see which way we need to go.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Passes 3-0. Hope Initiative, update on Women's Shelter Project. Thank you.
Thank you.
This would better be titled the Women's Transitional Housing, because there's there's multiple projects going on, one for shelter, one for transitional housing, and this is the transitional housing. And what I've given you is just a revised budget kind of spending plan based on what we had asked last fall, and we were granted $130,000 for the purchase and modifications to a home for the purpose of transitional housing, as well as the first year's operating costs and consulting contract. And this is just an update to that, because we were not able to obtain the property that we were looking at the time. And so we've moved forward looking for a property and have been, had a property donated to us in the form of, it was an estate, and that transfer of ownership is in process. That house does need more extensive renovations than the home that we were looking at previously and were unable to purchase. And so our intent is to use the bulk of the monies granted to us for those renovations. In the meantime, because those renovations will take a significant amount of time, due to the nature of the project, the state has a lot of requirements that we have to meet that take time before we can even begin the work. And so in the meantime, we're looking at the potential of renting a property, and we're currently in talks with Chad Malicote, who owns the old Bennett House on 12th Street. That house is grandfathered in because it has been a transitional type facility multiple times throughout the history of that home. And so it is zoned properly, has a lot of the necessary qualities to meet the code requirements for such a facility. And so what you have before you is a detailed estimated budget of what these projects would cost. That includes renting the Bennett House so that we could begin the program soon, and then working on the renovations for the Williams House.
So really what you're doing is just coming back and saying, hey, this is what we proposed the first time and how we were going to break down use of the money. This is what you're not asking for additional funds.
No.
You're just telling us that how you're appropriating the money has changed from your first request.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have an estimated time frame on the Williams house as far as completion, or?
Probably a year to 16 months would be my guess from now.
we need to make a motion, Joel, to approve this since it's a change in
the scope of,
the original
I think it does.
opioid?
I go back to the opioid including I think it falls within broad groups of
Right, so this is just her giving, and,
just information.
and Jamie, I didn't introduce you, that Jamie Owens, is,
JCAP.
JCAP, Women's JCAP, sorry, I had a.
Senior moment.
JCAP.
Senior moment, yeah, Women's, JCAP, program, and doer of all things.
Not all things.
Well, doer of a lot of things.
Please don't put that on me.
Yeah.
Doer of enough things.
Doer of enough things. So she's just coming back and updating us of what the changes are. So I don't think we have to approve anything. But it's just good to see that we're doing something different.
Yes, just wanted to make sure that you were aware and that, you know, the idea of renting is acceptable, and using these funds to support those operating costs.
If it gets it up and running quicker, I'm all for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. We have a resolution, ARP resolution for the expenditure of money for emergency services during the eclipse. Is this the only one?
Yeah. It's the sum of $50,000.
It's the back page.
Number
Yep.
32.
Yep, number 30.
Item number 32, the sum of $50,000 for the cost of additional law enforcement, firefighters, and emergency medical services to be on duty throughout Henry County during the 2024 solar eclipse. That money is to be spent from the American Rescue Funds.
I will make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0. Second resolution, transferring, that's this one, transferring interest in tax sale certificates to the city of Newcastle. Joel, would you explain this?
Sure, I think Mike Boyles is here from the Newcastle Land Bank. These are properties that were not sold in the prior tax sale that were transferred over to be used in a commissioner's certificate sale that ultimately didn't occur. I think just because the number of properties you had didn't justify the sale. These are all properties located within the city. All of them have been ones that have been tax delinquent for a long time. Probably the bulk of them do not have anything on them. Some of them are landlocked. So these are kind of the least attractive of your potential tax sale properties. I think it's a fair statement to make on it. And so the land bank had voted to request that these interest in these 29 properties be transferred. And Mike, I don't know if you have anything else to. I think there's only 28. Okay. Yep, there's 28. I misnumbered it.
Oh.
Yeah. I just-
Oh, yep.
So,
Yep.
I just thought Mike sold one.
yeah.
I will make the motion to transfer. I don't have a resolution number. Debbie, do you have a resolution number?
Yeah, 2024-02-28-002.
I will second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0.
I think that's it.
Anyone from the public have anything else for in the interest of the commissioners?
It's been a long meeting.
Hey, Joe, for you guys, they are shutting all utilities off in the maintenance building Monday.
Okay.
They're shutting the utilities office off for the maintenance building on Monday.
So we can start the demo.
All those in favor? Motion to adjourn.
Oh, yep, so
Second.
moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Thank you for your attendance.